News alert on our top story. As we told you moments ago, two sources with direct knowledge of a classified FBI briefing on Capitol Hill tell Fox News that officials now fear valuable intelligence on potential threats to the homeland may have been lost after a federal judge and a pair of lawyers showed up and read the Boston bombing suspect his Miranda rights just 16 hours into the FBI's questioning. The FBI believed, it told lawmakers, that it would have 48 hours to question him. And once he was told he had the right to remain silent, the FBI says he clammed up and has stopped talking. New York Congressman Peter King is a Republican. He's a member of the Homeland Security Committee and chairman of the Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence. Congressman, good to see you here.
Thank you, Megan.
I want to ask you first about these reports that the FBI is angry, that the FBI was frustrated, that the FBI did not know or expect this magistrate judge to show up with a prosecutor and a defense attorney and read this Tsarnaev brother his rights. Can you confirm that, first of all, and who are they pointing the finger at with their anger?
Yeah, I've certainly heard those reports, and my understanding is that the federal magistrate, she arrived at the hospital unannounced, and as far as I know, the FBI was not aware this was going to happen at all. So, and the fact that there was an assistant U.S. attorney there with the magistrate indicates to me it had to be coordinated through the Justice Department, and ultimately that would be the Attorney General. So to me, the only person who could have been involved would have been the Attorney General or somebody directly reporting to him, because my understanding is it was not the FBI. And the fact that an assistant U.S. attorney was there indicates that the Justice Department knew this was going to happen. And it's been a while since I practiced law, but I'm not aware of a judge on her own, or magistrate on his or her own, coming to a hospital like this while an interrogation is going on. So to me, this has to have come from the top.
Do you believe that we have lost potentially valuable intelligence information as a result of this all happening Monday afternoon?
Well, as you know, I thought that the younger brother should have been declared enemy combatant to begin with. I thought that the public safety exception was too limited. But now that's even been limited more, because we had been told, and the understanding was that it would be 48 hours of questioning. That's the generally accepted rule when it comes to the public safety exception. The fact that it apparently was cut short at 16 hours means there's an awful lot of information that could have been obtained. If the FBI is getting as much information as public reports say they got during that first 16 hours, we can only imagine what they would have gotten. Remember, this is only roughly 1/3 of the 48 hours, so they still had 2/3 of the interrogation to go. And generally, once these things start and once information starts coming, it comes more rapidly. So yes, I would say this definitely had to have hampered and hurt the investigation. And since it's such a wide-ranging investigation, every bit of information that's lost could be extremely damaging.
Eric Holder oversees the Department of Justice, including the U.S. Attorney's Office. He oversees the FBI, ultimately. How can it be that an assistant U.S. attorney and a magistrate judge and a federal public defender, for that matter, show up at a hospital that the FBI is guarding, in which the FBI is interrogating the only living suspect in the Boston bombing marathon,
right,
and the FBI gets surprised by this appearance? I mean, where is the coordination? Where is the communication?
Yeah, we've been talking about a lack of coordination between the various federal agencies in this whole investigation, but now we see it right on the ground. If this is what happened, if the FBI did not know that the U.S. attorney was coming, that the judge was coming, or the magistrate was coming, and Eric Holder is responsible, and he is ultimately responsible for the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, then clearly this is a total mismanagement at best from the top, and it really cries out for an investigation as to how this happened on maybe one of the most important interrogations we could have, really, on any domestic terror case. This is one case where we had a person who was vulnerable, a person who had access to, I believe, a lot of unanswered questions, and yet that interrogation was cut short. I think, again, if I had to surmise, perhaps the Attorney General was concerned with all the talk from people like myself and Senator Graham and Senator McCain and Senator Ayotte calling for enemy combatant status. He just wanted to end that debate right away, give them Miranda warnings, and just start the civil process.
The FBI testified, according to my sources, that they weren't done. They were not done. They were 16 hours in, and they were getting a lot and now they're getting nothing. I want to shift gears with you. There are reports now hitting the wires, and I have it from at least one source on Capitol Hill as well. Want to ask you what you are hearing, that these bombers had suggested that Times Square was next on their list. Can you confirm that, Congressman?
I confirm I've heard that from police sources who were told that. This was part of the interrogation, which was not made public. The FBI did make some reference to them coming to New York for a party, the two bombers. But no, this was separate from that. This was coming to Times Square. And my understanding is that the police believe that this was talking about an attempted attack on Times Square, and that has not been made public by the FBI for whatever reason. But I've heard that from police sources, not from the FBI, that Times Square could well have been, that Times Square was mentioned by the bombers and is believed to have been the next attack, the next possible attack. One
of the many things I'm sure the FBI would have liked to inquired further into over the hours and day they had. I want to ask you this, Congressman, about the reporting, the incoming information to the FBI, starting with this. There are reports that the older brother who was killed, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, who seems to be the one to have first become radicalized, attended a mosque in the Boston area. The name of the mosque is the Islamic Society of Boston in Cambridge, and that he had some outbursts that caused quite a scene at that mosque, and it was either threatened with expulsion or was expelled from the mosque. Do you have any information, or has the FBI, as far as you know, been briefed on whether the imam at that mosque ever called any of that to the authorities' attention?
My understanding from talking to authorities, including the police, is that the imam never told anyone about that in law enforcement. Nobody in the government at all was told that by the imam. And that's very significant, because for someone to be ejected from a mosque because of radical outbursts, that is usually a very good marker that that person has become radicalized. And I believe that was the obligation of that imam to go to law enforcement, either the Boston police or the FBI, someone in law enforcement status, because this has happened too often. It's happened in New York, where a person goes to a mosque, says he wants to be involved in jihad. They say, we don't do that here, but they never tell the police. And that person goes on to become a jihadist. We had a case in Long Island involving 2 different mosques. So it's not enough to put the person out. You have an obligation to go to law enforcement, considering the fact of what radicalization often leads to, and that's a terrorist attack, and that's what happened here.
One quick question for you before you go. The FBI claims it was not alerted when Dzhokhar Tsarnaev left the country for his trip to Russia. Do we believe that the FBI was alerted when he came back?
Yeah, they had to have been alerted, because the Secretary of Homeland Security has testified publicly that there was a ping, that they were pinged. DHS was, and the Department of Homeland Security routinely reports that to the FBI, which should have given that to the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and I believe also to the Boston Police. My understanding is there's no record of that happening, so this is another unanswered question involving the FBI and how it handled this investigation.
So many questions yet to be answered. Congressman Peter King, thank you very much, sir.
Megan, thank you.
Much more on this coming up.